Imagine waking up one morning and realizing you were the last person left on your street. Not because of a disaster, not because of a war, simply because everyone else chose to leave. Across the United States, hundreds of towns are disappearing, slowly, quietly, and almost completely ignored by the rest of the country. These aren't ghost towns from the gold rush era. These are places where people still live, where someone still turns on the porch light at night, where an old man still walks to a diner that hasn't had a full table in 15 years. These are America's dying towns, and the last people standing in them have something to say. Who stays and why? In Beaufort, Wyoming, the entire town was sold at auction for $900,000. One man, Don Salmons, had been its only resident for years. He ran the gas station, the post office, and the town hall, all by himself. In Centralia, Pennsylvania, an underground coal fire has been burning since 1962. The government relocated almost everyone. Almost. A handful of residents refused to leave, even as the ground cracked beneath their feet and smoke rose from the earth like a slow-motion apocalypse. In Monowai, Nebraska, the population is exactly one. Elsie Eiler is the mayor, the bartender, the librarian, and the only taxpayer. She grants herself a liquor license every year. She keeps the library open in memory of her late husband, who read over 5,000 books. These aren't eccentric hermits. They are people rooted so deeply in a place that leaving would feel like dying a different kind of death. Why towns die. So why does this keep happening? Why do entire communities dissolve? The answer is almost always the same story, told in different accents. A factory closes, a mine runs dry, a highway bypasses the main road, and trucks stop coming. Young people leave for college and never return. The hospital shuts down. The school consolidates with the next county. And then one day, the grocery store closes its doors, and suddenly you're driving 45 minutes just to buy milk. This isn't unique to America. It's happening in rural Japan, in small English villages, in southern Italy. But in the United States, where identity is so bound up in movement, in progress, in the idea that you can always go somewhere better, the people who stay behind often feel invisible, forgotten. Like America left them, not the other way around. What economists call population decline, these residents call something else. They call it abandonment. What is lost? When a town dies, it doesn't just lose buildings and businesses, it loses memory. The 4th of July parade that ran for 80 years. The barbershop where 3 generations of men told the same jokes. The church where your grandmother was baptized, married, and buried. These things don't get archived. They don't get preserved in museums. They simply end. And yet something strange happens in these places. Time moves differently. The people who remain develop a kind of clarity about what actually matters. They know their neighbors, all 2 of them. They know the name of every road, every hill, every stretch of land that hasn't been touched since their grandparents farmed it. Some researchers have started calling these places slow places, and they argue we need them, not to romanticize poverty or decline, but because in a world moving faster than any generation in history, there is something deeply human about a place that refuses to be hurried. The question isn't really why these towns are dying. The question is, what does it say about us that we let them? We celebrate cities. We celebrate growth. We celebrate people who pack their bags and chase opportunity. But we almost never stop to ask what happens to the places they leave behind, or to the people who love those places too much to go. Elsie Eiler in Monowai still opens her bar every evening. She sets the tables. She waits. Some nights nobody comes. Most nights nobody comes. But she turns the lights on anyway, because to her, that's not stubbornness. That's dignity. Maybe that's what the last residents of America's dying towns are really doing. Not refusing to leave, not failing to adapt. Maybe they're just holding the door open, in case anyone ever decides to come back. If this story made you think, share it with someone who grew up in a small town. And if you want to see more stories about the places history forgets, subscribe. I'll be here. Somewhere tonight, in a town most maps barely notice, a single porch light is still glowing. A diner sign still buzzes against the dark. A flag still waves over an empty main street. And someone, maybe the last someone, is still calling that place home. We talk a lot about the future, about where the world is going, but maybe the real story is what we choose not to take with us. Because when a town disappears, it's not just buildings that vanish, it's memories, traditions, voices, entire ways of life that quietly fade without anyone realizing they mattered until they're gone. And maybe that's why these places stay with us, because deep down, we all come from somewhere small, a street, a neighborhood, a hometown, that helped make us who we are. So, the next time you drive through a nearly empty town, don't just see what's dying, see what's still holding on. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe for more journeys into the forgotten corners of history, America, and the people time almost left behind.